right. So, shall we start?
Yes, just start, I believe, and enjoy the session. And see you, everyone.
See ya.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, hi guys. How are you all today? I hope you all are doing really well. So, this panel discussion will be on bridging the generation gap. So, a little bit about generation gap. The generation gap is the difference of outlook, beliefs, opinions, skills, attitude, and behaviors between the older generation and the younger generation. So, our panel discussion today is going to be very relaxed. It's going to be very friendly. So, relaxed discussion. And I hope that we can cover different topics centered around the generation gap that would be relevant to all of us. So, let's meet our amazing panels for today. So, starting with Miss Judy. So, Miss Judy McCutcheon is a leadership and organizational coach. She is the managing partner of Go Blue Inc., which is a management consulting firm, and she is a wonderful example of a strong woman leader. And next, we have Mr. Harry Ang, who is a IT solution specialist by day and a dance coach by the night. He has been very passionate in sharing the love and knowledge of a Latin dance called bachata. So I hope I did that right. He is a Latin DJ and organizes weekly dance socials in Kuala Lumpur. So Dr. Irene Kilubi is the founder and managing director of Brandpreneurs and Brandfluencers. She supports pioneers, visionaries, and change makers in the three subject areas of community building, corporate influencing, and connecting Generation XYZ. Ms. Lilitha Govindasamy is a youth advocate listed in Britishpedia, third edition of Successful People in Malaysia, CEO of LG Marketing and Consultancy Services and LG Designs. She's also the founder and president of Youth Wave Malaysia. And later we'll be joined by Tinam Shop, which we will introduce her later. So shall we start with the questions?
Sure.
So, okay. So our first question will be, so as we know, like when we talk about generation gaps, we have different generations like baby boomers, generation XYZ, and the stereotypes that come with these generations. So do you think that we should be putting these labels and generalizing an entire generation? So maybe Dr. Irene can start off.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a prejudice. It's all just to give us a certain structure, right? Like to know what kind of age groups we can expect. It's also pretty much related to what kind of experiences they have gained, in what kind of decade they have been living. But studies have shown that there are no significant differences between the different generations, right? It's all about the age. There are differences in the age, but not so much within the generation itself. And you cannot just generalize many different generations like Gen X, Y, Z, and the baby boomers, in fact. So it's all about in which context are you talking about it, right? As you know, like, for example, television or marketing has been putting people under the age of 14 to 49. It was just as a purpose for them to better target them as a group, right? And in fact, that's what we can also do with the categorization of generations. It's just like a helping tool, but it's not a good thing to generalize it at all.
I see. So, Miss Judy, do you have any thoughts on this?
Sorry. I agree with Dr. Irene, because I believe that the reason why we have the boomers, the generation, the Xers, all those names, because they wanted a way to identify the different groups. And I think it's mostly age groups. However, I think there may be a slight difference in where we know X, Y, somewhere down there. There may be a slight difference only in things such as technology and the way things are done, because kids now, like my daughter's age, they're really into all of these technologies. And when you look at my mother, there she doesn't understand the technology. So I think that that's where the difference really comes in terms of, you know, the baby boomers and the X's and so on.
I get your point. So maybe Miss Lily, do you have any thoughts on this? Like, do you like to be labeled as a millennial?
Okay, thank you, Varshini. Okay, being a youth advocate here, I think it is for a cause. Mainly is because we are being stereotyped, due to all these traits. Like, they categorize millennials are supposed to be those who, go against the elder ones, and they don't actually cooperate. All these kind of negative traits are being implemented on millennials and also Gen Z. I mean, it's coming, it's along the way, not all, but certain community or certain group of people, at workplace, even at home, we go through all this. So basically what we are trying, like for myself, we are going against this to break those stereotypes. So I think labeling such is just merely about the traits, but I don't think so there are proper research or facts, to prove all this. But I agree to Judy and Dr. Irene. It is just a labeling, merely labeling. It's not like a proven thing there. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Harry, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think pretty much all the ladies have already said all the important points, but I just want to add one thing. Besides labeling, I think what is important here is that there's a little difference because how we treat the X and the Y and the Z and the X and the baby boomers is actually a little different. Like when the company is geared towards boomers as well as the Generation X, how you treat these people and the Y and the Z generation is different. So we need to have different ways of treating these people. That's my thought. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about how different generations grew up in different times, so maybe there can be some sort of difference in that aspect. So do you think there is a sharp contrast in attitude, such as in the case of work ethics, moral values, communication styles, and so on between millennials and the older generation? So maybe Miss Judy can start.
There is definitely a difference in attitude, work ethic. There's really a big difference that I see, because you have baby boomers, Xers, they are very much disciplined, if we want to use that word. So they will get to work. They believe that you get to work, if your work time is 8 to 4, you get to work like 7:30. You sit down, you do what you need to do, and so on. However, the younger generation, they're a little bit different. They're more result oriented. So it doesn't matter if I come to work at 5 o'clock. It doesn't matter when I start. What matters is the result that I give you. And they are no longer interested in working for one company for the next 30 years. They're not interested in that. They're really looking for a company that kind of fit their particular lifestyle, that have the values that they want to expose. So they want a company that's community oriented, people oriented, you know, all these companies that are only interested in profit and not people. I don't think that the younger generation has any real interest in working for companies like those. Whereas my father would have gone into a company and worked there until he retired. People aren't
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff anymore, you know?
So talking about this, you said that the younger generation they don't like 8 to 5 working period. They like to work at their own time. This is very true. Um, so Miss Lilitha, do you have anything to add as a millennial?
I couldn't agree much with her actually, because that is a fact. I think we are more on the lazy type, whereby you tell me A, I'm gonna do that A. I'm not gonna do more than that. I am a millennial myself, and I am engaging with way younger students and nephew, nieces, and my age category. We want something more independent. Let me to do this. I'm just gonna finish. This is the end product that you want. I'm gonna just do it and pass it to you. You don't have to know how I do it, as long as I'm done with that job. Those kind of things. Like, we don't like to be dictated. I would actually agree with all her points, because this is basically the younger generation currently. This is how we are. As much as the bad traits are there, the negative traits are there, but the laziness, the attitude problem, it is there. We are more rebellious. Yeah, the things are there. Something that, manners, yes, we have some sense of manners and all those things, but um, we don't practice this much. Yeah, thank you, Ashley.
Okay. Dr. Irene, do you have anything to add?
Yes, actually, I would like to give you an example because I just recently wrote an article for a German magazine. It was about the job opportunities of different generations on the job market. And I mentioned work-life balance there. And there was one reader who approached me and said, like, okay, Mrs. Kilubi, do you want to say that the older generation doesn't need any work-life balance? And I told him, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that every one of us, no matter what kind of generation he is, needs work-life balance. But the difference here, which is pretty clear and obvious, is that the younger generation insists on having a work-life balance, which is a fact that the older generation didn't do so much. There might be many different reasons, right? It can be that the younger generation nowadays has social media, they're traveling a lot because it's much cheaper to travel around the world than it was before or for our parents, right? So I believe that the younger generation is much stronger in claiming what they want, right? It can be considered as being lazy, it can be considered as being rebellious, and so on. But I feel just like they're fighting for their rights and they want to have a great working life culture because they are aware that they spend at least 70 to 80% of their lifetime at work, and they want to make it as convenient as possible. Well, I hope with this example of work-life balance, I could somehow show you my point of view on this matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with your point. Talking about how the younger generation and the older generation have different work ethics. So, Mr. Harry, do you think that there are challenges that different generations would face working together?
Yes, definitely. I'm speaking for myself. So I think I want to say is that for our generation, I felt we are a very impatient generation because we are brought up that way. All right. We have the internet, all right? We can Google everything that we want under the sea, under the sun, right? And like, if you want to get a girlfriend, we just swipe right. That's it. Okay, so things are available for us so easily, and it's so easy for us to get anything and everything that we want. So when it comes to work, then it comes to a problem set. We want things immediate. We want incentives. We want the end result straight away. But that's not how our superior, for example, would think, because they are probably from older generation, right? Maybe boomers or Gen X. So how they think would work for them may not work for us. So that's where the big gap is, where I think a lot of companies in this generation will need to fill. Especially the companies who are like really big corporates, where there's a lot of levels of bureaucracies. This is where I think we got to work together rather than you are right, we are wrong. I know this, you know that, but this kind of thing. I think this is important moving forward for every people. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say something
Sure.
to Harry's point? I am an Xer, and I am just as impatient, um, because I think that things can move faster and should move faster. I am also very results oriented, so I have no interest in going to work at 8 and staying there until 5. I have an interest in really just giving you the results that you want. So I don't know, because I don't consider myself lazy. I work consistently, but I just don't want to work the same way that my parents have worked. And so I can see very much with the younger generation. They just want, is this the result? You want this graphic? I can give you this graphic. You don't need me to sit down here for the next 10 hours to do this graphic. I can do it in 2 hours and be gone, kind of thing. So I really do agree with your point, Harry.
So, Dr. Lilitha, do you have anything to add to this, like our discussion?
Thank you, Varshini. I think pretty much they are telling the right thing. They've already shared what I wanted to share. Actually, we are just quite straightforward. Like it's just about it's not going to any end, but hands together and work together to give a solution and who is right or wrong, those kind of things. So it takes a lot of patience, to handle, but I think there'll be an agreement point. So it's no one here, it's just that they should know these are the characters that they are about to. The acceptance is very, very important. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Irene, how do you think, because we have challenges working with the older generation and younger generation, so how do you think we can find common ground and learn how to communicate effectively in the workplace or at home? What are your thoughts on this? So,
Prejudices in saying like you are too young for something or you are too old, because those are perceptions that have been, so to say, they come from society, right? So you are never too old or too young for something. And then to show mutual appreciation. Here again, I can give you an example. Me, for example, I'm mentoring someone who's 20 years older than myself. So why always think that when you have a mentor, the mentor should be the older one, right? So looking for mutual benefits. What can I learn from the other generation, right? And not just thinking like, okay, I have the seniority level and I'm the older person, I know it better, but to be open-minded towards new ideas, new perspectives, but also for the younger generations to appreciate people who are older with more working experience, that they also can learn something, right? Not just because nowadays it's all about digitalization. You should say like the younger generation is better at doing it. Still, the older generation has something good to give, experiences, and maybe also perspective on how it used to work before. What are the challenges we might face? And then come together and work on it. And I feel like mentoring programs are a good way to do so, like bringing together the young and the older generation. It can be a challenge, it can be a working project where they come together and work towards a solution together. And I've experienced it in the past working with clients, and it has been so insightful for both parties. And this is what I really recommend, to establish mentoring programs.
Thank you, Miss Irene. Um,
I think that um, the both or all five generations, because we have just about five generations in the workplace right now, and I think all five generations have something to learn from each other. So it is not enough for the older generation to say, well, I am older than you. You have to listen to what I have to say. I know better. I think that those days are really just gone. So it is about what can I learn from you? How can you learn from me? How can we make this better for all of us? So I think that that is the approach really that companies should look at adopting in the workplace, and maybe they need to have policies that kind of work with that, because what happens is that you have all the older generation with all this institutional knowledge and it's not captured, and so the younger ones aren't able to learn properly from them. And like Dr. Irene said, if they can do some kind of pairing, some kind of mentoring, some kind of, I don't know, mastermind, some kind of grouping where you have various generations within that group working together, I think that that is really going to get us past a lot of the problems that we have right now in the workplace.
okay, thank you, Miss Judy. So, Miss Lily, do you have any ideas on how to help the older and younger generation communicate effectively?
For me, thank you, Varsh. Okay, for me, being a millennial myself, I think it's really important. For the first step is actually educating the younger generation, instilling in them some, some kind of training or attitude management, impression management kind of, I would say, kind of. Some educative learning, some kind of things we need to instill in them, in themselves, because you know, carrying away with the traits, they are reading it basically, so they are trying to live by that, by the traits. Actually, it's not like that. You can always say a no to your trait, that is not actually what you are. There's always, you need to give a space between your real attitude and your inner self, and you have to actually be comfortable in mingling with the society around you. So you will be coming across so many of them. Different generations are involved. So for me, being as a trainer, as a corporate trainer, now that I'm involved in corporate training, and even back then when I was in corporate industry as well, we had a lot of team building activities, and we had a lot of activities that we can customize and instill those the greatness of previous generations, like how a doctor and also Ms. Judy have shared. It's all about instilling those attribution, the ethic, moral values in each and every one of them. It's through social media, we are all engaging with social media, every day we are with, every minute, every seconds we're with social media. So we can actually give in a lot of awareness campaigns and things like that, more on a better content, like videos and the way that people would like to see. Same goes to the bloggers and all. Each and every generation have their own way to approach, for us to approach. So it depends on how we're approaching them, but definitely there are ways to to maybe to reduce this ego between bridge, to just break this. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lilitha. So, Mr. Harry Eng, do you have anything to add?
I have this. Well, work or job satisfaction, relationship or anything takes time. So being a generation which is really a lack of patience, this is something that we need to build for ourselves. Okay, and the fact that most of the corporate environment currently is still built towards the older generation. So I think what is important for us to find a common ground is to have a working environment which really works for both generations. So rather than have like a top down, like if we talk about mentoring earlier, I think doctor mentioned earlier, right? The mentoring may work if both parties agrees to work together, but if we put a baby boomer or an older generation or probably a higher level management over with a lower or younger generation, obviously there will be some kind of mentoring, like a parent to a child thing, which it will happen pretty naturally because I'm here in this world older than you, so I think I know this. But things have changed so much, so I think the environment is very important. We need to instill a really open environment in organization that we want to work in, or a company that we want to work in. So we want to instill um, openness to everybody, so everybody can raise any question at any time, not just I tell you what to do, you just follow, this kind of thing. So I think openness is really important in an environment for us to find a common ground and work together. So yeah, that's my point.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harry. That was very insightful. So I think we have an Dr. Dinam joining us, or no? Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So since most of you are entrepreneurs here and business owners, the world is currently in the midst of a demographic transition with increasing aging population and a reduction in our workforce. This is happening mainly in developed nations. So this would create a different kind of consumer market maybe by the year 2050. So as entrepreneurs and business owners, how can you anticipate the demographic development and keep up? So maybe Dr. Irene can answer this. Uh, we can't hear you, Dr. Irene.
Yeah, I think Judy is
We're
with.
not hearing you.
It's not. Can you say it again,
Okay,
please?
now we can hear you.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, Vashini, as you correctly pointed out, we should be prepared that in the future people will be working longer. Why? Because we have a higher life expectation, right? Because we have the medical services, we eat healthier, and so on. People will get 90s or 100 years old. And it's not only about the aging population, we have a so called pyramid where you have a large proportion of elderly people and a very low proportion of young people because the birth rate will also be decreasing. So it means for us in terms of consumer market, like to be always abreast of the future, to clearly define our target groups, to really understand with which age groups I'm dealing with and how to communicate with them effectively, like also choosing the right social media channels to communicate with them, and also to look for different working styles I need to adapt to every time, right? I think like every 10 years in terms of new work, we will have to face different working styles. We will have to face different working environments. Now we are facing the situation of remote work, right? In the past, like in the last 5 years, no one would have ever imagined, and many employers were against people who are working in the company working remote. But this was a necessary movement due to COVID, and we will face it in the future as well. So my recommendation would be here always to look for the trends out there, always to try to adapt your business model to the current conditions and environment, and also to never stop learning, right? Because in this fast-paced environment, we always need to learn new methods, new tools, and new working styles. So this is my recommendation to all business owners and entrepreneurs, to keep learning and to always adapt each business model.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Irene. So, Ms. Judy, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I'd like to agree that it is important for us to constantly be redefining and redefining our markets. Um, and we have to be lifelong learners. And it doesn't, not only as entrepreneurs, but as people, we have to be lifelong learners. Know what is happening out there, know what the new trends are. Um, know what is happening in your market, because if you do have a niche market, or you are in a particular industry, you have to know what's new in that industry. You have to know what is happening. You must know, like, consumers or preference taste, it changes consistently. It really does change. I mean, 3 years ago, I had loved to eat meat, and pork and was my favorite meat. Now I just don't eat any meat at all. So my preference just changed. So we change consistently. So we have to really keep up. And for those of us, well, not me, but for those who are in the technology field, like Harry, you have to keep learning and growing, because the things that it just changed. I mean, like, from one moment to the next, you go to sleep, you get up, and things are just completely different. So I am saying that yes, I fully agree with Dr. Irene. We have to keep learning and growing consistently.
Thank you, Dr.
Totally agree.
So, Mr. Harry
Totally agree.
Ann, so what do you think about the demographic development that we are facing right now?
Well, I think Judy has said a point which is really important. Like for I mean, I'm also a business owner, so like your target audience is really important. When you set your target audience, and as well as your industry and all that, you need to know where would they be. Like for example, when Facebook first started, everyone is in Facebook, but the younger generations is no longer in Facebook. If you notice, all right, they have moved on to IG, and then when IG got crowded, like my dad is there, my mom is there, then I move on to TikTok. All right. And then when my mom and dad is in TikTok, I'm gonna move on to some other platform. So things are moving. So we gotta keep ourselves ahead of time in a way. If you want to target certain generation, of course, when you want to if your target audience is of an older generation, then you gotta look at the correct platform for you to target. That is really, really important. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Miss Lily, so I have an interesting question for you. Um, if you were to market your business content to baby boomers, how would you do it?
Oh wow. To baby boomers. My business basically it's all about clothings. So it's about clothings and also different design, fashion. Basically, it's fashion industries. So I think I'll just go back to the time frame whereby how they dress up and all. I will just cater according to how they are supposed to be. But I think the previous the fashion sense of baby boomers is what we are having currently. It's just about it's just going on a round and it's coming back to us now. So the fashion sense is still there for fashion in that particular industry. And another business of mine relating only to my businesses is education. So compared to baby boomers and for now, education basically now is just like you don't need a paper qualification. You can you have skills, or you can just do whatever you want. It's not a must to have paper qualification. Way back then, like in my or you are done with SPM, you are already like an Oxford level. So I think so the way I approach or change my business style is it will be going back to education lah. I educate again, but yeah, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes, yes, we can hear you. Hello?
Yeah. So it's all about educating them back, and I will be and I will be more humble in approaching them, to park over the business. Yeah, just to play the
All
sentiment
right.
values and all.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you that fun question. So we have a question from our audience regarding the previous question on the challenges that we face working with different generations. So she said, how can we as the younger generation voice out if like our voices are not heard? Because she said she encountered experiences like this because she thinks that the older generation they feel like fresh graduates have a lack of experience, so when they want to voice out their opinions, they don't like how to say maybe they don't hear their voices. So how would you explain that? Like what can fresh graduates do to make their voices heard? Um, Miss Irene, do you have anything to say about this? Oh, we can't hear you.
I don't know what's happening. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Better?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I feel it's all about how I behave when I enter the first time a workplace, right? I think like first try to listen, to observe, and not trying to want to change everything at the beginning, right? And like coming up with the attitude, I know it better. I just came from university and so on, and also asking a lot of questions because that shows interest during the workplace. And then afterwards, right? I would always try to figure out, even though it's maybe not something that you want to do at the beginning, right? Really figure out in the team what are the current challenges, or also looking at your boss. So, what are the challenges where I could help them out? Prove yourself at the beginning, right? And then, after a couple of months, when you're settled in and people know your value, know that you're helping them out, then you can go there and also make some proposals. You could also come up with a little small initiative or project that you want to implement there, and still seek for advice of elder people, because if you're trying to do it on your own and think like, okay, you're younger, you know it much better, leaving them out of your project, it might be not be a good thing. So my recommendation would be first, like, listen and get to learn the environment, not trying to know it better. Then second, try to find out what are the challenges that the other your colleagues in fact are facing. And then third step, you can come up with an initiative or project that you feel might be important or valuable for the team or for the company as a whole. And believe me, if you behave in this way, you will be heard. Definitely.
Thank you, Miss Irene. So, how about Miss Judy? Do you have anything to add?
That is that was beautifully said, because what happens is that a lot of times the younger generation just out of university without any real working experience go into the workplace, and they want to be able to change it now. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So, my advice is always to go in, observe, offer little help, ask little questions before you can bring forward something. Because people need to know that you're there to help. Because people don't want to feel as if you want to replace them, as if they don't have any value. And one thing I think that helps a lot of graduates, I know it helped me a lot, was working a little bit before I went to university. So I had a really good understanding of what the workplace required, so that when I'm back now in the workplace, I can kind of marry the two things together. So the younger generation really have to be a little bit, you have to try to blend the two together. So yes, you want to help. Yes, you have this fabulous idea. However, they will not take your fabulous idea unless they know what you want to add, that you're not looking to just kick them out and you come in. So that will be my advice. So I really agree with Dr. Irene's point.
So, Miss Lily,
But
from a millennial point of view,
Varshini, can I interrupt?
yes, yes, please interrupt.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. But mentioned earlier, right? It also is because of ego problem as well. There's a lot of fresh graduates. We are coming in with a lot of new ideologies, and we want to bring change. And when we are presenting it to them, ego kicks in. So it's quite difficult for us to go in and explain ourselves. Even as how Dr. and Miss Judy been explaining, sitting and all these ways, all this implemented before. We have done all this before. I mean, along the way, I've done all this before. But still, even recently, I am into the politics quite some time back. And what happened because of the same ego problem? We are not coming to the understanding just because we are of different generation. And I have to, there's so many things that happen that I have to actually live. I would say it's a waste because they're not there to listen to us. So it happened in corporate, it happened in even in a political side, it happened everywhere. Politics are everywhere. Maybe it's just because we have better ideas than them. The ego is there. So how are we supposed to put up with ego? I'm just adding to the question because whatever that doctor and also Miss Judy have actually enlightened us, I've done all that. I'm sure our viewers also already have done all that. I mean, we're still having the same problem. Yeah, thank you, Varsh.
I just wanted to add, but I think I want to hear Harry first before I add anything.
Sorry?
I said I wanted to add to what Lilitha said, but I want to hear Harry's what Harry has to say before I speak.
Okay.
Right.
Please go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna blame all on YouTube because YouTube has a lot of videos, a lot of instructional videos that we can learn from. So in one night, I could become like an expert in anything that I want to do. So I think I've been there as well.
Exactly.
So I think what is important is that respect has to be earned both ways. So as someone who is new or very green to any industry or any companies that you're joining, you want to make sure you gain that respect before you. I mean, you want to respect people before people can respect you. So when you speak on behalf, like you're like an expert, you're a YouTube expert, that you learn something and then you don't want to share into the company as a something. But I think that is not right. What is important is, I think, is how we speak to people. Because of that generation gap, we will create a lot of misunderstanding, especially when we speak from a different point of view. Yeah, so I think we should build we should, I think, our generation here is lack of relationship, or like building relationship skills, like because we face laptop and phones all the time. We lack of communication skills. I think this is something, maybe I can speak for myself. I think it's important that we build this communication skills to speak to people rather than just looking at our phone screen. Yeah. Over to you, Judy.
Very yes. Um, so one of the things I think in terms of what Lilitha was saying is, if you have an idea, right? And I know that it has happened to me because I have a lot of ideas and I'm excited about getting my ideas across. I want to get them in because I know if we do this, it's going to work. There are several things that we need to do because in an organization, we have all these very informal leaders. Therefore, we have to be extremely careful. So you kind of, when you go and you figure out who is leading what, not who is in the position, because positional leaders sometimes really don't have the ability because the informal leaders are the ones who lead the pack. So you find out who these informal leaders are. And then you pitch your idea to them in a way that says, I was thinking about this. What do you think? I need your help. So you have to kind of make it seem you're going to them for help with the idea. And also you have to make them think this is their idea. One of the things that happens is that because of ego, we sometimes want all the glory. But then we have to find the balance. Do we really want this particular thing implemented because we know what it's going to do? Or do we just want the glory? So I think that it's a really fine line, and we have to learn how to maneuver in the workplace, because the workplace is like a real political party. It is a political party. And so you have to see who the real politicians are, and those are the ones that you have to get on your side. And believe me, once you get them on your side, your projects are going to get implemented, but it is how you do it. And always, as I say, be respectful, build relationships in the work. It is all about building relationships. And once you go in and you build relationships, I think you'll be just fine in getting whatever idea you want to be implemented.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Judy. I think that will be very beneficial for fresh graduates, especially like me. So I think we have another question from the audience. So this person said that since the new generation of post millennial is coming up into the workforce, so like I'm a post millennial. So in your opinion, how would you describe the post millennial and what are their best qualities? Because I think they are slightly different than the millennials. So what do you think? Maybe Dr. Irene can go first. Oh, we can't hear you,
Doctor.
Dr. Irene.
Yes, I'm trying to
Yeah,
talk.
okay.
Is it better now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
We can hear
yeah.
you.
Better
Yeah.
now.
Okay, so the question was, what are the best qualities of the new millennials entering the workplace?
Yes, yes.
So I just recently had one from the so-called Generation Z in one of my podcasts, and I asked him exactly the same question. What, in his opinion, is the best about his generation? And he said, like, for them, everything is possible. They don't have this fear of failing. They are very ambitious. They are open to new things, and they want to try many things out as much as possible. They really embrace this failure culture. So I would say that this is one of the best qualities that they have. Um, and they also have more opportunities that older generation had in the past, right? To try out many different things and being backed up by the bosses, or they have the means of using digital tools and solutions. They have so many possibilities to get lots of information out there to educate themselves. And what he also mentioned is, of course, this aspect of they learn much quicker and much faster because they are used to it. They grew up in an environment of digitalization, of globalization, and a fast-paced environment. So they are aware of their knowledge being quickly obsolete. So they always have to educate themselves, always learn, and they can do it also on their own. They most of the time use YouTube videos, or they just Google and check out some research paper to educate themselves, right? And they don't stop learning just when they go out of school. And then another quality that they have is to keep themselves motivated, right? Self motivated, because They are looking for a purpose in what they are doing. If they see the value and the purpose in the work they're doing, they always feel motivated to wake up every morning and to do what they're really passionate about. So those are the three qualities I consider is very, very dominant in the Generation Z, right? So being very ambitious, fearless, educating themselves, and always keep motivated as long as they can see a purpose in what they are doing.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Irene. So, as a
I would like to
millennial,
add here, Vashi.
yes, do go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Since I am a millennial and I am working along with post millennials, since I am running my own youth NGO. So most of my members, they are post millennials. So millennials and post millennials, not much of a difference. But I would like to quote back the word said by Doctor, which is very ambitious. And I would say, yes, they are very ambitious. As much as that is their best quality, it also might be the pulling down factor. So for me, it's like, they have to, they are really brilliant. They are doers. They are not just sayers, they are doers. And they have a lot of ideas, but they're just not good in time management. You need to tell them directly to them everything, and they will just get it done just like that. I mean, this is my personal experience. I have around 30 to 40 people in my NGO, and these people are really challenging. And but I can see a way better, a better country. I mean, in Malaysia itself, I can see all these people. There will be a better future if all these people are really groomed well. So for me, the best qualities are there, especially being ambitious and their leadership skills, and they want to be part in each and everything. The leadership quality is also there, but it's also at times it is the over excitement being the pull down factor. So if they are a little toned down and if they are able to listen, I think things will be perfect for them. Yeah, this is what Darshan actually.
Yes, I
Thank you,
totally
Harsh.
agree with you. Mr. Harry, do you have anything to add?
Okay. I work with a lot of post millennial as well, because we need them. Because else we will not be able to continue. All right, with whatever we are doing, whatever company we are doing, whatever NGOs or whatever projects that we are doing. I think what Doctor has mentioned is all true. I really agree, and uh, I think post millennial really focuses a lot on what would people think about them. Like, for example, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, Vashini, but
Yes,
like, for example, for like your profile, Facebook profile, your IG profile, like you want to make it really really nice, right? And you put all the good stuff, but all the things that you don't like people to know, you will never put it, obviously, right? So people will see all the good stuff but never see all the bad stuff behind, right? So all the thing, the younger generations have been really good in using filters. Like, you don't like this filter, you just swipe right, go to the next filter, go to the next filter until you find the one that you like, right? So yeah, so things that you don't see doesn't mean that it's not there. So I think that's why the newer generation thought it's so easy to get by and to get what they want. But actually, what we lack of is that to really see what's behind, hidden, like all the people who has enjoyed a lot of success, what was behind them, years and years of hard work. So I think this is something that the my generation as well as the younger generation have not seen it. So I think it's important lah, in a way, that we should acknowledge all this, right, Judy? Yeah.
Miss Judy.
Yes. One of the things that the millennials and post millennials have to learn, and I honestly believe that they will get there, because I have had to learn to get there too, is to be vulnerable. You don't just get successful just like that. So what happened behind the scene? What what took you down here and what brought you back up here? What that does is that it gives you authority and credibility. And that for me is one of the things that the um, millennials have to learn. You don't just like, how he said, you can learn anything you want on YouTube, but that does not make you an authority. People don't, that's not how people want you. That's not how people want to know your hard things. And I really like that millennials are fearless. However, that fearlessness has to be tempered because you have to learn to listen to you have to learn to listen to your intuition because if you're just going to be recklessly fearless, then it does not serve you. It is not going to serve you. So you have to learn to be quiet and listen because that voice is always there telling us yes or no. So I really like the fearlessness. I really love the ambition because I am extremely ambitious. However, in being ambitious, you have to be also very kind, very, very kind, because there's, there's room for everybody at the top. There's room for everybody. So we have to know that we don't need to trample here and trample there and bring anybody down to get to the point where we want to get to. We have to know that there is enough for all of us. So we don't, in being ambitious, it is always important that we add kind to the word next to being ambitious. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So maybe let's move on to the next question. So right now we are in the middle of a pandemic. So do you think that the COVID-19 pandemic has become a great equalizer as all generations have to adapt to the new way of working and living? So maybe Dr. Irene can go first. Oh,
Doctor, you gotta unmute
okay.
your. Yeah.
Me now?
Yes. Good. You're
I
good to
don't know
go.
what's happening. I didn't change anything. Maybe my internet connection is so bad. I'm sorry for that. I'll give it a try. Well, I don't think it's only about COVID. It's also about digitalization. It's about globalization. And now that we were in lockdown for a couple of weeks or months, people are starting to realize how important it is nowadays that we there's no alternative rather than we uniting together, forming so-called a community, may it be offline or online as we were forced to do so. And yes, it's not only about the new generation that has to adapt to this working style, also the older generation, because as we previously mentioned, because of the demographic change, they have to work for much longer than anticipated in the past. So I would say it's a conjunction of course, the crisis we are facing right now, but also other other changes in society like digitalization and globalization that we are forced, or to put it in a nicer way, there's no other alternative for us rather to somehow adapt to, so to say, new work in the future. And we can only realize that if we all come together and stop those prejudices, you're too young, you're too old, because no matter how old you are, every one of us has something valuable to give, and we should all together come together, unite ourselves to move forward to the future and to make it the best possible ever for the generations to come in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Irene. So we have Dr. Gcina Mhlophe joining us right now. So she's a South African freedom fighter, actress, storyteller, poet, playwright, and director and author. So her work has contributed in preserving storytelling as a means of keeping history alive and has encouraged South African children to read. I can tell you that when you listen to her stories, you never want it to end. So maybe I shall pose this question to Dr. Dinam Shah. Do you think that the COVID-19 pandemic has become a great equalizer as all generations have to adapt to a new way of working and living?
Thank
Doctor?
you. Greetings to the panelists. This is a very, very important topic indeed. I think the fact that we've had to adapt so quickly, maybe it's been long coming, and we have been aware, but somehow we didn't feel the urgency depending on where we are in our communities or careers. Is there any technological advancement in the area where we live? So all of that is very, very, it plays a role in impacting whether we can move forward with the way things need to be done now or not. For instance, when we are stories in communities where they cannot access Wi-Fi at all, where there's no internet connection, even the data is so expensive. When data is so expensive, it means that people can peep through the window and step back out, and peep through the window and then step back out again. And they've suffered so much in terms of the school year, and in terms of books reaching them in having the stuff that is streamed live when lecturers are able to speak to the children who can access these platforms. But other children who cannot start doubting the physical copy, the hard copy of a book, if this has got all the information I need. So there are two ways of looking at that. In some communities, they say, I'm sticking to the book, that's all I've got. In some communities, they think that we can get into this digital stage and move forward. We do not want to lose this academic year. And so it depends on where you are. You cannot say it works better this way, it works better that way. Depends on what you've got, and are you able to access the information that is apparently out there.
Thank you, Dr. Dinam Shah. So I understand that you tell stories. So do you think that storytelling would be a way that, the younger generation and older generation can come together? Doctor?
Storytelling, very often people keep saying it's only for the younger generation or it's for children. Storytelling is for everybody. A lot of adults love storytelling. A lot of adults use storytelling in different formats, whether it's environmental awareness, whether it's in medical settings where people want to pass on information. For instance, people like myself have been asked to make videos to raise awareness about how people protect themselves health-wise, according to this the pandemic, the COVID-19 that is devastating the whole world. And so we've done all of these, but in storytelling format. Even when you look at the videos that we've recorded of storytelling, and they've been streamed, and people could be able to download them on their cell phones and spaces like this. So storytelling is very, very versatile. And the fact that it's so versatile, it means that young people can access them, they can get these stories, but also people record them and have them as DVDs that they can play. That can be done offline now, because it doesn't cost so much. And so storytelling has been very, very active under lockdown. And I'm amazed. I didn't know that this was the kind of thing that was going to happen. But you've got to be like a soldier. You don't go to sleep without your weapons. So when you have got to jump, you have to jump. And storytelling has meant that we've connected with people that we didn't even know that we could connect with. I think the time we're living in now has forced people to look at communication as one of the most important essentials for humanity.
Thank you, Dr. Dinam. So maybe Ms. Lilitha, you could tell me, are there any other activities that could bring together the younger generation and older generation, something that both generations can enjoy together. Is Lily?
Hello. You speaking to me?
Oh no, to Miss
Hello,
Lily.
you want? Yes, I thought so.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Hello?
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. Yeah. So pretty much, I'm just gonna repeat that same thing. It's just that more on just like storytelling and questions. Just be ourselves and speak to them. It's more like on ground activities. Just connecting them on ground activities. A lot of on ground activities we can do. All are on social media. So I think it's very important to have any kind of on-ground activities. And I think my line is really bad.
Okay.
So
So
the line is not working.
yeah, it's okay. So maybe we can pose this question to Dr. Irene. Do you have anything to say?
Can you please repeat the question again?
So what would be like the activities that
the activities. Okay, I previously mentioned all this mentoring stuff. Then you could do like barcamp sessions or hackathons. I don't know if everyone is familiar with those formats, but what I noticed, because I also work a lot in the startup scene, that when they're running those hackathons, which is nothing else than people coming together with different competencies and expertise during a weekend most of the time to find a new technical or innovative solution for a challenge, right? It could be, for example, it's one of the hackathons I'll be starting in a couple of weeks. Are there any digital solutions that can foster the collaboration between different generations, right? So many different, it can be developers, it can be business experts, it can be UX designers, psychologists, people from diverse backgrounds coming together during the weekend and trying to solve this challenge. And at the end of the day, the result could be a little prototype. So in the past, many of these hackathons have been restricted by age, that they said like, okay, you should be between 18 and 30 or 35 years old. Or I can only speak for Germany. We have a lot of hackathons that are also specifically for teenagers or for pupils. And that might be a good thing to say, like, okay, it's not important that people are young who are participating in this hackathon, rather to mix those teams together, younger and older generation, to find adequate solutions for the future, because it doesn't make sense at all to come up with solutions for the future only involving either very young people or older people, because we are all responsible for our future and for our society. And this is what I would also recommend to all the companies out there. If it's about finding new solutions, new ways of working in the future, make sure that you have an age mixed group coming together. And this will also cultivate a better working environment in the workspace.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Irene. That's a really good point. Hackathon. So, Mr. Harry, I know that you're involved with you teach dance, Latin dance, bachata, and you also know you are also a DJ. So do you think that music and dance can bring generations together?
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. So I think music and dance has to be cultivated since the very beginning. I think a lot of us, I cannot say for other countries, but from Malaysia, I think a lot of us if our parents can afford, would send us to piano lessons or ballet classes and all that, right? So I mean, there is a pattern, because I think that everybody knows that music and dance would probably help the development of a lot of people, of all the children and kids. Um, I teach dance, so obviously I will be a bit more biased. I think dance will be a very, very, very good activity for the younger generation, the older generation. I mean, we have people dancing from 5 years old all the way to 65 to 70 years old. It doesn't you don't have to have an age to dance, and I think through dancing you can actually build that kind of rapport between you and your partner, or even in between you and your whole team. So I think there's a lot of communication, although this is non-verbal, but I think non-verbal communication is much more important than verbal communication, because verbal communication is all filtered. Right, like Facebook, we will say all the good stuff because it's all filtered, right? So the non-verbal is something that we cannot filter, or harder to filter. So this is where dance will help every generation, to actually, for those who cannot really express, like myself, you will express through dance. So this is a very good way for people to release the stress, especially when they cannot speak. Like there's a question earlier that you get bogged down by the ego of a different generation. So this is another area for you to really express yourself. And I think a lot of us are expressing through this way, through music, through dance, even through all sorts of stuff. So that's why I love what I do, and I see a lot of people are gearing towards this way, because I think a lot of people in the world are pretty stressed. So we have to find a way to release. Yeah.
So, Miss Judy, do you want to say anything?
In cultures where we have carnival, right? I don't know about the rest of the people here, and if they have carnival as part of their culture, but in my part of the world, we have carnival, and carnival is an important piece of our culture, where you see music and dance bringing not only the old and the young, but every single different race, creed, class, color. Everybody comes together during the carnival season. The music, the emotion, the vibe, it just brings people together. And I really, really think it is we probably in the workplace we need to use maybe a lot more dance therapy, a lot more music therapy in bringing the generations together. I wish that we'd have a storyteller in between, because that's how we communicate our experience. We communicate our experiences through stories, and I think some stories, some dance, some music is a really fabulous way for the new workplace going forward.
Yes, yes. So,
One of the things that happens, thank you, you're very right. You're very right. One of the things that we have started in my organization, I live in Durban, South Africa. We adopted a big wild fig tree. It's quite old and huge, and we have been allowed to use the space, and we tell stories under the storytelling tree. And the number of people that come, we thought it would be small groups that would come together. But there are so many people, older people in their late 70s, 80s, and people bring their children and grandchildren. We have teachers coming. We have got people in business, the most unlikely cross-section of people coming together. And under this lockdown, we've recorded every one of these performances and put them on our Facebook page. And people are commenting from different countries. South America, people are commenting in Japan, people are talking about it in Jamaica. And so it's so fascinating that a small wild fig tree in the middle of a park can bring people together in that way. And because of social distancing and all the things that have started happening now, it becomes a really, really accessible space that you can have social distancing, but you can still feel connected and have a brilliant time together. So we are so grateful that we are able to do this kind of thing, do live connections, and also put it on the internet and all of these social media platforms. So we have got to, the slogan in our organization, we say, touch the past, feel the future. And that's how we operate.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Doctor. So I guess we're going to almost end our session. So I guess we have come to like one sort of conclusion that, music, dance, and storytelling can somehow bring generations together. So with that, I would like to end with a quote by Ronald Reagan. He said that each generation goes further than the generation preceding it because it stands on the shoulders of that generation. So, and with that, let's conclude our session. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be having this panel discussion with you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. It was an amazing session. Thank you for the sharing and that you are all here. I was all here in the background and was listening to the conversation. You all added a very different perspective, which is the goal of the whole summit, that we all show our sides. And everyone sides it a little bit different and brings up new things. And when people hear it together, I think that will be the trigger for them to think a little bit further and see that the palette is much more colorful than they see. And this is why I created the summit. So I'm really happy to be part of this conversation with you in the background and see that, yeah, that's the way. And that's what I wanted to show. And you all showed it to the people. Thank you very much for joining in. And I really love to see you. I don't know whether the audience know that I have never met the people besides Harry and Lilitha. I didn't meet the people on the screen, and we all connected digitally because I was calling people to come on board. And I'm really thankful for you to do this because you all volunteer to give this value. I have to tell you that all of this is on Facebook already, and you are famous. You have a Facebook post and you have a YouTube post already, and you can keep going back there and talk to the people because they will watch it. After this, it will stay there, and some people are watching it after the live. So just keep on checking your posts wherever you participated and engage with your audience. And thank you for the audience too, that you were here. I think it was really nice. And Krisan is saying, thank you for the diverse discussion. There was Apuzam here, we had Mala here from MyTech, there was Ruby, and there was Darshan, and there was Faisa. So a lot of people started to talk with you. I really like this part also, that people are engaging. So I think I will meet some of you. Harry, I think we will meet soon. I will catch up with you. And all the others, Gunavarshini, I will see you. And Gcina, you will come on Sunday for a nice discussion with KK together, the two of you, about storytelling. And I think you will like, you are a good company. He's also a storyteller, but he's from Malaysia and he's a Toastmaster, so it's coming up. And I think nice to meet you all. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you very much for the privilege.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And we catch up soon. Thank you very much. Bye, guys. Thank you.
It began with a bold vision to build KL Metropolis, a development that would establish a new international trade and exhibition district in Malaysia, built in partnership with the government by NAZA Group's property arm, NAZA TTDI. The crown jewel of this grand vision is the Malaysia International Trade and Exhibition Centre, the preferred international destination for exhibitions and events. Like the fine gold and silver threads of the Songket weave that inspired its facade design, MyTech is the embodiment of refined craftsmanship, creativity and precision. As Malaysia's largest exhibition centre, MyTech's functional spaces are unprecedented. Primed for exceptional displays, surrounded by state-of-the-art facilities and amenities. This iconic structure affirms a commitment to innovative excellence. It is a showpiece of engineering ingenuity. An enduring icon built for a new Malaysian era of success.